I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Caroline Lauzon. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Caroline, thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Caroline has a very interesting background. She was on the Canadian diving national team and has also been a Cirque du Soleil performer for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you're now sort of transitioning to real estate as well. So right. I would love it if you would go ahead and sort of tell us your story, where you started, how you got to where you are now, and then we'll kind of dive in from there.
All right. I don't even know where to start really, but I guess we'll try and start from the beginning. I have been a high-level athlete since I was 5 years old. I did gymnastics until I was 12 years old. So lots of training, 9 hours a day since I was really, really young. So I guess that taught me discipline and hard work and everything. But I got injured a lot when I was 12. In 1 year, I broke my femur and my back. And then my parents said, I think you need a new sport. This is getting a little bit crazy. So that crushed me a little bit, but it made me switch over to diving, and I fell in love with diving. And I became a national team member after a year of joining the diving team. So it was a good thing in the end for me to switch over. I was national team for about 4 years. And I don't know if you guys followed the Olympics this year, but Simone Biles, who had the case of the twisties, as they called it, on the news, this is exactly what happened to me at the end of my diving career. I got completely lost in my twists, same thing, the twisties. And it was so bad that I lost kind of like all my tricks and had to retire from the competitive sport of diving. While you're competing and doing these sports, Cirque du Soleil is always very present and sponsors some events and everything. So they're very present, and they had approached me already and said, hey, one day if you're ever done with competing, we'd love to have you audition and see if you'd be a good fit as a flyer for us. And as soon as I finished, I gave him a call, and 2 weeks later I was joining for a new project. That was in July 2003. 18 years later, I'm still with the company. I've performed in 4 different shows. I've done the Oscars in 2012. That was quite the highlight of my career. And so I'm approaching the 40s soon. And, you have to think you're not going to be able to do this forever. So about, let's backtrack a little bit. So my mother is and my grandfather had a furniture store. So I've always been very involved in kind of decor and decorating houses. And I love this kind of aspect of real estate since I've been really, really young. And then I think when I was 30, and I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people, and it's going to sound very cheesy, but I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it kind of really changed my mind on how I was seeing money. We're always taught, you should save up and save up, and then you can retire, when actually it kind of blew my mind, like, oh my God, like I need to actually invest my money and make my money work for myself. And it just totally switched my mind on this. And so I started having a lot of interest, and I bought my first apartment. And I remember shaking, signing my first contract, and now I look back and it was $89,000, and I was like, oh my God, it was so cheap. Like I should have bought 10 of them. But I made my first investment. That was about 10 years ago. And then I went on to buying a few more homes and blah, 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 investing myself. So 4 years ago, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I had a lot of time. Since you can't perform and you're pregnant, I had about a year to do something. And I decided to get my real estate license because I had already flipped a few homes, very slowly. Like I'm not like a, Property Brothers or anything like that, but flipped a few homes, and I was like, man, this is something that I would really enjoy doing. So I got my real estate license, passed my exam, and funny enough, I passed the exam 2 weeks before I delivered, and I was like, if I don't pass my exam now, I don't think I'll be able to take it again, like once I have a newborn and everything. So I was like, I have to pass now. So I passed it. Then yeah, it's been 4 years since I got my license. At the beginning, because I had a newborn and I had a full-time job with Cirque, it was a little bit more kind of on the side, very slow. And then pandemic happened, and I really went full steam into real estate. And what a year to go full steam. It was crazy. So it's been a year and a half that I'm full-time doing it. I'm just now retransitioning into both jobs full-time, and I'm a full-time mother as well. So very busy.
That sounds very busy for sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of my story. That's how I got where I'm at today. The why and the how I got here. And I really find myself loving this job. Really, like, I love helping people. Like, I think I'm a very, I get really happy when I help people. And I like, real estate just sounds like, oh, money and this. And like, no, at the end of the day, I love it. I've had more pleasure helping FHA buyers or VA buyers that, that it sounded impossible in this market. And then finally they got it and they're so happy. Brought me more joy. So I really do love real estate.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's a really impressive and interesting life story. I think I think we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but it's like, you might think some of these things are not related, right? They're not applicable to real estate. It's like, oh, what is gymnastics or diving or any of that has to do with real estate? But the discipline, right? The discipline and the work ethic and the things like that were instilled in you at an incredibly young age is, that sticks with you. That's not something that you just like, oh, well, I worked hard when I was 8. Now I don't anymore. It just becomes a part of who you are. And so, translate that to now, where you're working essentially 2 jobs and you're a mother. And so I think sometimes if you don't have that work ethic instilled in you and that dedication at such a young age, it's not impossible to pick it up at a later age or later in life, but I think it is a hard thing to sort of flip a switch from, it's not even about laziness or anything like that. It is just a different mindset.
Organized. It's a skill itself. And my schedule was pretty tight from age 6. So I've always been really good with time managing and like you said, like discipline. Like real estate, I think consistency is the most important thing that you can have, is consistency and discipline. This is one thing I didn't know when I signed up for real estate, is how many phone calls you have to make, like how much reaching out to people you'll have to do. But to do that, you have to be disciplined. You have to sit down. You say you got your phone call hours every day, and you got to be diligent and organized and do all these things. And that's how I think that's the key to be successful. And luckily for me, I've been taught that my whole life since I've been very young, and to work hard. And also, I think also in sport and in Cirque, it's a performance. So you're always performing. So you're kind of taught to put your own emotions aside a little bit. And, you come in and these clients are very happy, and they're looking for a house. You don't want to arrive grumpy, and you got to put on a show. You got to be smiling and happy, and this is a good thing for them. And so putting on a show, it basically is another skill that I've learned through the years. You leave your emotions at home, you do your show, and then you can deal with it later.
Right. There's a lot of I think athletes athletes very much so, and especially, when you start at a young age, there's a lot of compartmentalization of sort of, okay, it's performance time, or it's it's game time right now. I deal with the other stuff later, that kind of thing. So I think that's, those are all things. I mean, it's not to say like, it's not to say that you should push all mental health aside. It's just a matter of you're able to put it in different boxes and sort of work on them at the right times. And I think, one of the things you kind of talked about is that, like, the discipline and the cold calling, right? So I assume that's what you're talking about when you're talking about your phone call time. The cold calling is, you just have to do it, right? Because it's not every person's going to want your phone call. Most of them are going to say no, but it's that persistence and the discipline that I'm doing this for however many hours it is. It doesn't matter, what the outcome is.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. So you'll get 98 no's and you'll get 2 yes, and those 2 yes will end up being something. But yeah, you get on these 100 phone calls, you'll get a lot of rejection, and you don't take it personal, and it's annoying on the cold calling. But you got to also follow up with your clients, and not because you've talked to them once that this is going to end up closing at the end of the day. You got to make a relationship. You got to care, like, oh, I remember today's your birthday. How, you got to make these relationships with them. And I think that makes a difference in a good agent and someone who just wants to close. Like, I think somebody who makes a relationship with the client will end up getting the listing in a couple years once the client wants to move, because they'll remember that they really liked you. So I think that's important. Yeah. When I mean phone calls is past clients, it's current client, just following up. Hey, I know you said like 3 months ago that you wanted to look this summer. Do you think you're ready? Where are you guys at? Like, I'm just following up, following up is important, but yeah, you got to be really disciplined, and it's time consuming, but it's important.
Yeah. And making it relational rather than transactional, right? It's not just it's not a one-time sale thing. You're basically trying to be, if you sell someone a house, you want them to use you when they sell that house, right? Like you want them to tell your friends that this person helped.
A great agent. Yeah, use her. She's awesome.
So it's very much about, kind of building, and that's, that theme is a very common theme throughout all of real estate. And
word of mouth is still very much so the greatest marketing tool you can have.
Yeah, exactly. If everyone who talks about you has good things to say, obviously that'll go a long way to sort of building your business and getting more and more clients as you move through it.
And it's a really stressful time to purchase a property or sell a property. It's about hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it can be very scary for a first-time home buyer or anything. It's a really stressful time, and it's nice to have a human by your side, not just someone who just wants to close and get the things done, someone who's there to look out for you. There's always 2 agents on both sides, and I deal with a lot of agents that are not as diligent. My team always is amazing, and of course I'm going to promote positively my team, but we really care about people, and I deal with a lot of agents that don't, and I find it a shame, like, that it's not this way all the time for all the agents out there.
Yeah, I think I think that I've heard this before, maybe, I don't know, on Bigger Pockets or something like that, that it's 20% of the agents are doing sort of 80% of the work, in that, because they're the good ones and they're the ones that the clients, they can continue to build their client base. So yeah, sort of maintaining those relationships and that discipline is incredibly important. And it's kind of like, going back to the sports theme, it's like as a diver, you are going to practice that same dive probably hundreds of times to try and nail it once at the right time, right? And so it's kind of that same, you're not, again, it's like, I love sports and athletics, and so a lot of the sports cliches are always in my head, but I know I've seen things about, like, Usain Bolt has trained for hundreds of hours in his life to run like a total of 45 seconds or something like that to win those golds in the Olympics. And it's like, he's not, the real work isn't when you're racing that race. It's before that, so that by the time you get to that level, your body's just doing what it needs to do and what it knows to do. So it's the same in business. Like it's the same. That's why I think it's really remarkable to me to just continue to see the parallels in whatever whatever life you've lived up into the point of real estate or business, and how those correlate far more than you would think. Like I don't think people would think a Cirque performer that's going to be applicable to what you're doing in real estate, but it certainly is. And I think people aren't going to think that a veterinary surgeon has like that applies to real estate, but it does. It's just life. It's just life, and it's how to interact with people, how to be a likable human, essentially. Like
absolutely,
there's a lot to it that you can sort of take from different aspects of your life. So it's really cool to see those parallels, and I'm always interested when I mean the stories that I get to hear on this podcast with people's pre-real estate life is really interesting, and sort of knowing how that impacts them now at this point. So maybe do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what you've done from an investing standpoint for yourself?
So I'm not a big investor, but on a smaller scale,
any investing is good. I always hate that, like people
like I've
like people with hundreds and thousands of units, and it's like, who cares? Any investing is good. It's the smart move.
But so there was a crash in 2008, and Vegas was hit pretty hard. So I feel like, I've been pretty lucky as well in timing in my life. But when I started purchasing property it was about 9 years ago, properties were so cheap. So I bought my first apartment, kind of redecorated everything, sold it, made a little bit of money there. I actually wanted to, this is interesting. I bought this apartment because I wanted to rent it. And the agent at the time, the HOA documents said that we couldn't rent the apartment, but she said, oh, they never look at that, because she wanted to close the deal. And when I came to rent it, I couldn't rent it. So I had to sell my investment much sooner than I wanted to, unfortunately, but I still made some money. Then I had another house that I was with my boyfriend at the time, and we kind of flipped that one as well, and we sold it, made some money. Then we bought our house that we're living at right now with that money, and bought another house. So from that house and my little apartment, we bought 2 houses, and then we flipped both houses, and now sold both houses, and just quadrupled our money in the last 9 years. So it's been a journey. And then I've just closed on a townhouse yesterday as an investment. And it's going to be some work again. And it's the market being so high, it's always, you're always taking a risk. But I'm very excited to redecorate the whole inside and get started on this. But I feel like it's a different mindset if you like your money in your bank account and you feel safe this way, but it really doesn't, what is the word, fructify? It doesn't like grow very much.
It doesn't they don't give you the interest rates that you are getting, even if it's a high yield savings account or whatever.
If I had left that money in my bank account this whole 9 years, I wouldn't be anywhere near what I have now. And it's a complete different mindset. It might be scary for someone to be investing a lot of money and not have as much in the bank account, like scary looking, but then it's there, it's invested, and you can always sell it if you need it. So it's a mindset. Investing, it's not for everybody. Some people really like the cushion, and they like to feel safe, and they just want to save, and they want to retire on their little money, and it's okay to do that. But I feel like once you make that jump and you see what you can actually do with your money, then you just want to keep buying. You just want to keep going. And It's you got to be smart and you got to make good decisions, especially when the market moves. In the last year, it's moved so much that you're like, okay, I got to make smart decisions here. I got to keep an eye on it. I got to keep myself informed. I got to keep, you got to stay on track with the news and what could affect the market. And like you all of a sudden you get addicted in this world of investment,
Yeah, it's 100%. Like once you make the leap and you figure out what it can do for you, like it's what you said about, then you just want you want to
just
invest
want more. You're like, what?
right now.
I don't want to leave any money in my savings account.
Right,
I just want to invest it everywhere. Like buy me Bitcoins, buy me everything.
Yeah, whatever. You have to be smart about it, right? It's not to minimize that there's risks, but there's risks in everything in life. There's risks in your W-2 job. Like what if that business goes out of what if your business goes bankrupt and you don't have a job? Like there's so many different things that can happen. What if you work, what if you work in Cirque and there's a pandemic? Like there are things that it's just like people they're worried about perceived risk and for some reason ignoring very real possible risks.
Yeah.
And lots of people lose their jobs. Lots of times the stock market drops down. Like that stuff happens all the time. But like real estate over time just goes up. It just goes up. Like there was a crash in 2008, but like we should have had a crash right now and the government didn't let it happen. Like it's not going to be a linear straight up line to increase the value of your real estate, but it's a tangible asset that you can hold over time. You can receive cash flow if you're renting it out. You can receive tax benefits. Like there's so many different things that once you figure that stuff out, it's like, what have I been doing all this time? That's how I feel. I'm like, what was I waiting for? Because in a year, we've done a few things in terms of just passive investments. It's not even counting what we're working on actively. And it's like, we increased our passive cash flow a ton.
And that's the goal.
Started at zero passive cash flow and have a significant amount that it's like, it wasn't that hard to do. Anybody can do it. And I think you're right on when it's like, once you figure out the power,
sky's the limit, really.
Yeah.
I forgot that I also have, and this is a kind of a good starter story. I also have an Airbnb at a ski resort here in Utah. And the property was $52,000. It's right across from the chairlift, the ski resort. And it came fully furnished, but it was pretty ugly. I was like, oh, should I do it? It's a ski resort. And I didn't know if the summer was also usable. And I was really scared to make the jump. And I was like, oh, should I do it? Should I do it? I'm so scared, but it's so cheap. Like my mortgage is going to be so low. So I started with, I think my down payment or all my costs were $13,000. And I put down, and I've had this property for 5 years now. I have never put a cent out of my pocket since. It's been renting out nightly, Airbnb, winter, summer. It does so well. And with the gain that I've made from this property, I've renewed all the furniture, all the floorings. I've literally not put a cent out of my pocket. And today the resale value is about 120. So it's doubled in the last couple of years. It's a small scale property, but it's just an example of like, I was so mortified. I was like, oh, should I do this? This is really scary. And yeah, I've never, knock on wood, put a cent out of my pocket since. So my 13,000 has now,
right. Your 13,000 is now over 100,000, right? Like it's just, and that's like, and you're not even mentioning the cash flow that you've gotten along the way.
Yes.
You're not talking about how that has helped you on taxes. Like there's a whole, like
you have sales tax and you have to get a business, and Airbnb is its own beast. And you have to be diligent, and it can be complicated if you do it the right way. Because there's a lot of weird Airbnb business out there. But if you do it the right way, you have to be diligent. It's a business, so you have to treat it as it is. But yeah, it's worth every penny.
It's not a business that you have to spend 40 hours a week on.
No.
right? You forgot to tell me about it.
Yeah.
That's
That's how much.
right? Like that's how kind of, easy it is. Like you forgot to tell me you had this
Yeah.
thing. And it's like, that's, to me, that's the point. Like people that have, a large real estate portfolio, especially if it's like on a passive level, they don't, I'm sure they couldn't tell you everything on it.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're just like, I don't know, I just get money in my account every month. Like it's just, and that's the power. I mean, that's really the power. And
That's the
it's very
goal.
exciting.
I just had a discussion with somebody at work today, because he has an apartment, and the revenue he gets a passive $1,000 a month. And I was like, you get a few more of those and you have a salary in itself. You don't really need to work. You do it because you like it. You
Right,
perform
right.
because you like it. You do what you like because you like it. You don't have that stress of like,
Yeah.
you have passive income coming to your pocket. That's the main goal.
Yeah. If you create enough passive income that work is optional. You may love your work. Like, I don't want to stop doing surgery.
Yeah.
That's not my intent here. My intent is that it's up to me.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, because I don't have to worry about my bills. I don't have to worry about my kids having anything that they need. Like, we can take vacations when we want. Like, I just want it to be up to me.
Yeah.
That's it. I love doing surgery. I can plan to continue doing surgery as long as I can. Like I look at surgery in a little bit like I look at athletics, in the sense that at some point your body won't do it as well.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't want to be at that point in my career and still have to do it. Right.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of,
when I have the freedom of saying, hey, you know what? Time to move on. I'm not doing this because
it's
I have
time to lecture about surgery or tell, what I mean? Like, just be involved in some other way and have that be my choice, and not, I have to keep doing this because I can't retire until I'm 65 and all of that stuff. So it's very much about choices, I think, is really what it comes down to. And it's just that's why I love these conversations, because it's like, it doesn't, you started off like, oh, I'm not a big investor. You are like, you're doing it doesn't matter the number of properties or there's so many different avenues, right? You have Airbnb, you have some other rentals, like there's different ways to do it. You can just pick the one you like.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, your story about the Airbnb, and you struggled with the decision to buy that, right?
Yeah.
In hindsight, would you have been upset if you didn't?
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Like,
I can't tell you how many. Two of my friends did following that winter, because they saw how lucrative and fun and easy, and I can go whenever I want. Like, I go 2-3 times a year and I enjoy it, and it's amazing. So then I kind of like, what, this is doable. So it's kind of hard to be the first to do it. But yeah, I would have been so mad if I didn't do it.
Right. Yeah. It's like, for me, I think about, okay, the crash in 2008, people started buying real estate in 2010 and 2011. Those people are set.
Yeah.
Like, those people are set. I wasn't one of those people. So
everyone was so scared.
Right. Everyone was so scared. But if you just did it, and like right now, if we had another crash, I would buy as much real estate as I possibly could.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I know it's always going to go up. It's always, people always need places to live. If we had
only more people on this planet, like,
yeah, it's always going to improve. So it's like, if we had another crash right now, I would literally, like, everything I could buy, I would buy, and just to be able to, sort of ride that next wave. But it just shows you, like, the remarkable power of it. And you said you don't want to be the first, but you're not the first. You might be the first of your friends.
In my circle,
right.
I was
you're the first in your circle, but you're certainly not the, like, what is it, 90% of all millionaires are created by real estate. Like, you're not the first person to do these things in whatever avenue, like whether it's Airbnb or it's apartment investing or note investing. I mean, there's just so many different, or even just strictly as a passive investor. There's people that purely invest passively and have created or made themselves millionaires that way. And it's passive, right? Passive.
Yeah.
So it's remarkable the power of it. And once you
start,
realize it, you're not going to, if you start and you jump in, you're not going to stop. Like that's the thing you have to worry about, is that you're going to get hooked on it and not want to stop. So it makes a lot of sense.
It becomes a challenge, and you meet friends that are like-minded, and you keep up to date together, and like,
you see, you talk to all these people, and like, talk to people that are like, oh yeah, I have some Airbnbs here, and like, we made $60-something thousand last year on our Airbnb, and it's like, that's like after expenses. Like, okay, I need an Airbnb. Let's like, it's just
nightly rental business is so good. I think people, especially in the last year, did not want to see other people because of the pandemic. So they really wanted to have their little apartment. They wanted to cook. They wanted, no restaurants was open and all that stuff. So they really wanted their privacy. And it did. Last year, I was like, oh no, this is the year where I'm going to have to go out of pocket. And no, it did even better than the other years.
Right.
So
yeah, there was a lot of unknown as to what was going to happen with the pandemic. And there are components of real estate that were hit hard, like office and retail. Yeah. But I would argue that you probably should have known that was coming, with the way that like retail was already on its way down before the pandemic, because of things like Amazon. Like it's just, that's the way that retail, I mean, when Amazon bought Whole Foods, Costco stock plummeted. Like, it's like the people, you can see the retail writing on the wall. Office maybe a little bit different, I think, but now we know, like, you can work remotely. So it's like, but people always need a place to live. So you take the opportunities. Maybe you buy office buildings and turn them into apartments, or whatever it is. You can make it work. It's still a tangible asset on a piece of land that has value. And so it's just, there's things to be done with it. But I get really fired up about,
I know,
potential and possibilities. It's a lot of fun. Caroline, let's shift gears. I want to talk all day about this stuff, but I'll get to the part where I'm going to just ask you a few questions. The first one is relevant to the name of the podcast, being Know Your Why. And so my question for you is what's your why? What drives you? What makes you, sort of keep pushing and driving that success?
Well, there's different things. On a personal level, I just love the challenge. And like I said, I'm slightly addicted to investing now. So I love that aspect. And I want to grow to be, a good example for my daughter as well. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I just want to be able to show her that she can be a strong, independent woman in this world, and, be whatever she wants, and teach her all these good things that I've learned when I was a kid, like discipline and hard work and all that stuff, good morals, and be a good mom. But also my why is I really love helping people. When the pandemic happened, I started a GoFundMe because we had a lot of people here at Cirque that were stranded in the US, but they don't have green cards, they can't work, they weren't able to get unemployment because they weren't eligible. So I started a GoFundMe for them, and we raised $21,000 for them. I love helping people. So my why, and I found it, and it's funny because I didn't think real estate was that. I was doing it a bit more on a, hey, I want to be able to buy and sell my own properties, like investing wise. And finally I fell in love with helping people. I get so much joy, like I'm repeating myself a little bit, but I get a lot of joy with my first time home buyers, making it like almost crying because they were able to buy a house for their family. I had a family, she was an FHA buyer, and she has 7 kids. And in this market, we just kept getting outbid and outbid and outbid. And finally she got it. And when they closed, it was like winning the Olympics. It was amazing. It was so fun. It was great. And then I have another client who came from Brazil. He's got this crazy story. He's a refugee. His father was killed in Brazil, and they came here. They started from zero. They had no money whatsoever. and saved up. And then finally they were able to get pre-approved. And then we found them a house, and it was, you know, the level of accomplishment for these people was, I got so excited for them. And I really love this part. And this is why I do this. I love helping people, not in a cheesy way. This is really what I love to do.
No, it's very real. I mean, it's, you know, we talked about like the financial side of the financial power of real estate, but the ability to use it as a tool to give back, whether that's financially or like you're doing, you know, just providing
Guiding.
Guiding people, providing an avenue for them to achieve what's like buying your first house is a very, very big deal to virtually everyone, right? Like that's like,
I mean, remember I said I was shaking when I signed my 89,000 condo. Like I remember this feeling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I bought my first house. I was 25. I bought my first house. This was before the, I got lucky timing wise. This was before the crash, but they would give anyone a mortgage, right? Everybody. That's why the crash happened. They would give everyone a mortgage. I was a good example of that. I don't remember what I put down. It was not very much money. I bought a house for $99,000. Like it needed everything fixed. And I was like, that's all right. I'll figure it out. And it was like, I will never forget that house. And I will never forget what it did for me. Like I used that house. I got lucky. I sold it sort of right before the crash, but was able to refinance a couple times, pay off school loans, buy the next property. Like it did so much to get, you know, to get me going in, you know, give me that confidence that investing in real estate really does make sense. Even you just start however you can start.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then it will grow. And it's not get rich quick. Like you're not going to get rich overnight, but you will gain wealth if you stick with it and kind of keep working towards it. So I think that the ability to help people on that level as you know, getting them into their first homes, the ability to, once you do build some wealth, the ability to give back some of that, right? Like, you know, whether that's through charity, whether that's donating your time. I think one of the people I interviewed on this podcast, David Grabiner, he's got a program right now where he is essentially, he calls it homeless to homeowner, and he's buying houses and helping homeless people like get back on their feet, and then letting them buy the house at the end. Like
that is
like,
oh my God,
that's what I want. Like that's the kind of stuff you want to, like once you get to that level, that's amazing impact that you can have. And it's the same thing. Like even just like if you're buying multifamily, like the tenants, they're people. Like just like the things that you can do to help them in their place and make their lives better and all of that. Like people look at it like they sort of vilify being a landlord sometimes, in the sense that, oh, you're just, you know, there are bad landlords that are slumlords and not taking care of their assets and their tenants, but that's not the majority. And that doesn't really fly in this day and age, at least not for very long. So it's kind of again, we're we both get excited about this, but it's true. It's like the ability to give back and help other people, whether it's financially or time-wise, or just giving them that avenue to realizing their dreams. Like that's it. Like that's the reason. That's the why. For in some capacity, that's almost everybody's why. Nobody's trying to get bags of money.
That you'll do as a real estate agent that's not in the books. Like you know, I can't think of any, but like stuff like I was raking leaves in front of a listing before the photos because it was messy. Like stuff that you do for people. You'll go get their check and you'll bring it to the place because they can't make it. Like, I don't know, like I can't think of anything right now, but you'll do so many things that are not on the paper to help them out in any way, shape, or form that you can, because if you care, you care, you know, you want to help people. And There's so many times I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, this was not in the job description.
Raking isn't on the test for becoming a real estate agent. It's
I staged the entire house because my client was out of town and I was selling her townhouse, and I just wanted it to look the best it could. You know, I know that in this market you could totally do cell phone photos and it would sell pretty easily because it's such a hot market for sellers. But I also take pride in everything I do, and everything that has my name on it has to be good. So I staged the whole thing and raked the leaves and, you know, got down to it and made it the best it could look. So yeah.
It just comes back to, you know, what we talked about earlier, is just being a good person who cares.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Relationships and not just transactions. So
yeah,
very, very, very cool. All right, second, so we're going to probably have some fun tangent on each question, but let's go to the next one. So tell me something about, and maybe we've already touched on some of this, but something about yourself that maybe people don't know. We know you were a gymnast and a diver, but maybe, you know, a new hobby or a special skill that you have, something that you feel comfortable sharing.
Wow. Well, I perform at the Bellagio, still to this day, twice a day. I'm a flyer on the boat act, and I'm one of the zebras. So on the poster, it's one of the zebras, and that's what I do. Something special. I have so many hobbies. I don't know, but I do love the outdoors, sports. I don't know. That's a hard question. I'm a foodie. I love restaurants, and Vegas, we're pretty spoiled with that. So I love to discover new restaurants. But yeah, I don't know. I do woodworking.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Again, you have a lot of special skills, so I guess that's why it's a hard question to answer. You're right. You've got too many things to pick.
I just love learning things, and every minute I have, I try. Like I said, when I was pregnant, I had 10 months, and I didn't want to just sit home, so I took a woodworking class and a sewing class, and yeah, I built a few pieces of furniture, and I again fell in love with creating. You gain such a respect for furniture once you make a table or make a chair or even just a box. Yeah, you understand why real wood furniture is so much more expensive than the little Target nightstand that you get. You know, like you appreciate good stuff.
Once you learn good craftsmanship, it's a little bit hard to go back. Like
absolutely.
It's
I still do. I love my IKEA, but yeah,
you know what you're getting if you're getting IKEA or Target furniture. You know that's a different thing than like a handmade piece of furniture that
absolutely
has a totally different feel to it and everything like that. So it's I also love woodworking, so I totally understand what you're saying. That's very cool. All right, so we'll put whatever you like in the show notes, but what's the best way for people to reach out to you? So if they hear this podcast and they want to connect, how would you like them to reach out to you?
My email is probably the easiest work-wise, or my phone number. My work phone number is, I always pick up my phone because that's what you do as an agent. So if you need to reach me, Caroline at kingvegashomes.com. I don't know that I've mentioned this in the podcast yet, but I work for the Brendan King Group at Simply Vegas Real Estate. That's my brokerage, and my team is the Brendan King Group. We're the best in town. So if you need anything in Vegas, we're here to help. My phone number is 702-605-2231.
Perfect. Yeah. If anybody's looking for a real estate agent in Vegas, here you go. We know who to talk to. All right. Final question is, if you could go back in time a few years, what would you give someone in that position, sort of starting out? What would you give them as a piece of advice?
Get started. Just I know, even if you don't have any savings or anything, talk to a lender, talk to a good lender. That's very important. I feel like we don't talk about lenders enough in real estate, because they can screw up a transaction pretty bad, or they just, if you don't have a good lender, everything falls apart. So but also they can get you ready. They can get you there. They can tell you what to do. They can tell you how to get your credit score up. They can tell you how how much you need to save, or like what to do with your money so that you become approvable to take the first leap and get there. Do it. Don't rent forever. Rent is like literally like throwing money out the window. If you have to, do it, but start saving now. Like, it's not impossible ever. And there are so many programs that I'm not a lender, so I don't know them all by heart, but first time home buyers, sometimes you can put 3%, or if you're a V, 0% down, you know, like there's so many things. Like, just get informed, talk to a lender. Don't be scared. It doesn't cost anything. The lender doesn't charge you to just talk to you. It's not like a lawyer or anything. Like, you can just talk to them and they'll get you ready. They want to lend you money because they want your money. So they'll get you ready.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good piece of advice. You know, talk to a lender, talk to multiple lenders, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And ask the questions. I think your point about they can get you ready. Like, if they're saying you're not ready to be approved or something like that, ask that question. What do I have to do before I come back to you the next time so that you'll say yes, right? And just and find those pieces of information out, and it'll, because you're right, it's doable. Everyone can do it.
People are very wary or scared of talking to either an agent or a lender, but really at the end of the day, we're here to help you get there, you know. So don't be scared to talk financials with your lender. Tell them how much you have, tell them how much you make. Like, don't be wary. Like, we're not here to scam you, we're here to help you because you want to buy a house. So what do you need to do is listen to your lender, and then once you're ready, get a good agent and you'll get there.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Great advice. I love it. Well, Caroline, thank you so much. Really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for coming on. And like I said, we'll get everything, your contact information, in the show notes so people have that. And hopefully you'll get lots more calls.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
Really, really awesome. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.